Well, I've got a little forge time ahead of me to catch up some of these hooks and these braces that we talked about in the last video. So I got my forge fired up. Let's see if we can make something happen. On this brace rod for the driver's box, I need to put a ring on the end and then drift it out for a square hole for the head of a carriage bolt. And this is going to be a 3/8 carriage bolt, so I've got 3 of these I need to do. And this is a hook that I'm duplicating. One of these was the one I did last week. I don't know which one it was now. But anyway, I have 4 of those all caught up. And we just need to draw this hook out of what's left here. So I'm going to start with my rings for my brace iron for the driver's box. Well, that'll give me my 4. What I'm going to start out with these is I put a kiss block on that anyang, and I'm going to use it to just kind of round this out to 1/2 inch, and I'm going to draw it out for the hook. But it's a 1/2 inch kiss block, so I can run this on the diagonal and then just kind of rough round it in before I draw it out. So we're getting pretty close. You can see how this has kind of a beveled this direction. It's thicker toward the inside and then tapers toward the outside. And I've tried to accomplish that as well here. But you can see maybe where this is a little more rounded through this area here before it gets to the sharper edges. I don't have that here. I should have rounded this off maybe before I did this curl. I'll need to do that on the next one that I try. Other than that, we're pretty close. I can still get in here and do this with a round rat tail file and get that effect, but it would have been much easier while this was straight to do that little round section. Kind of live and learn on the process. We'll do it different on the next one. Well, those need to cool off before I can cut the threads on the ends. So while that is cooling, there is always another option how to do this. It's the proverbial more than one way to skin a cat. And there's been several suggestions. Well, why didn't you do it this way? Why didn't you do it that way? And it's not that I didn't think about those ways. I thought about cutting it out. I thought about actually forging it out. But I was trying to decide what would be the most time efficient. And you know, when I'm working for myself, really that's not such a big deal because I'm not on the clock to anybody. So I'm actually going to do some playing and see if I can forge this out. And I can't do it really side by side to see which way is faster, but we'll see what works in the end. No welder, no lathe, just forge it out. So in order to do that, I built this kind of a swage block. And I made it to form that shoulder, kind of like so. So my thought is, what if I just try to swage this down and form that shoulder into it? Now I have a 1/2-inch kiss block on my swage block, and I have a 1/2-inch kiss block on my Anyang hammer, and I'm going to have to kind of go back and forth between the two and see if I can't take this 1/2 by 1 and just form it down into the shoulder and end up with the same effect when I'm done. they certainly would have used a file. You see I'm not straight across here, and it really didn't fill up to a nice point, but I could maybe file that back and get that a little closer. It didn't really end up with a square. I have a little more of a parallelogram going on here. If I clamp it against this parallel two sides, you can see how out of square I am. Maybe that's just operator error. And maybe I could play with this curve a little bit. So it can sure enough give us a stop. As I stick up against my original one, see, I'm just not as deep into this point here. I didn't get that swaging down into that. So I am really only about that deep compared to this full depth. Other than that, I could thread that and draw this out and put that hook in it and make it work, but the whole point was this stop, to make it as clean as this old original one. And it just didn't accomplish the task. But if I weren't limited by my own restrictions, saying I can't use a welder, I could take a welder and build this up and shape that and bring it down to a point and probably bring that a little closer to where it'd be usable. The next thing would be that it's just not square. I have like I say, a parallelogram. I don't have a square. And then to compare them to the ones that I kind of fabbed, half forged, half fab. These are going to be really nice, I think. They're going to be really close to this original one. This one, maybe not quite so much. Just not the same. So I do need to thread these and get them put on, but threading is not very fun to watch. So if I was going to try to pursue that swage block avenue, I would probably open up the tip for the bottom of this stop to allow that metal to come in a little more fully. It would be blockier, but I'd have the depth, and maybe then I could grind it in and get the finish. And that's how you learn, is by playing and experimenting. It's called the School of Hard Knocks. Anyway, I'll thread these and get them installed here hopefully the next time. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.